Syntrade 2 had some trance sequences as well around the bonfire, and we used some of the tricks that we'd done in the first episode. But what I did want to talk about was the fabulous editing. I think the quick cutting, there's some shots in there that are probably 8 frames long if you sit down and analyse it frame by frame. And I think Rob Field cut that episode and did just a beautiful job. We used some of the same things, crash zooming. In that episode he also did lots of transitional sequences where he did dissolves, which were dissolves can be a kind of a cheap, tacky effect, but the way he used them there, the images perfectly complemented each other. So as one faded out, another one came in the opposing space. And if you work them out carefully and think about them, dissolves can be quite a nice effect. And so that denoted passage of time and some of Lucy's journeys from one world to the other. The two Syntrade episodes were pretty complicated plot-wise because it was moving between different worlds, between spiritual worlds and real worlds. And I must admit, even having read the script 3 or 4 times and shot the 2 episodes and watched them 2 or 3 times, I'm still on occasion scratching my head going, where are we now? What's going on? How does she fit here? What's working there? But I believe that they're pretty popular episodes with the fans.
Your question was, if a co-star doesn't appear in an episode, do they get paid? If you are a principal actor, unfortunately, yes. Unfortunately for me, of course. Unfortunate for them. But yeah, no. If you're a contractual actor, you get paid for every episode that we produce, whether you're in it or not. So, I think Renee was lying on a beach in Barbados, probably laughing at us at that point between the. Talking about the Syntrades, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. That was probably a pretty grueling shoot.
Very much
those
so.
2-parters that we did.
I remember asking Rob, since I wasn't going to be in the 2 episodes, if I could shadow T.J. Scott, who specifically is a very visual director. He knows how to play with the camera and keep the camera alive as a character. So I just asked Rob if I could spend every day on set, and except for when you guys went to the mountains in the snow. It's like, oh, that's too much. But I tried to stay, with the crew as much as possible and just see what was going on, that you don't typically see when you're working as an actor. And I did learn a lot. I mean, TJ was quite generous, and once he got used to his little puppet, or shadow puppet, get him coffee, But no, his shadow next to him, then he started just telling me all about the different lenses, and I learned how you can manipulate performance and create power around characters. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I just found that really interesting. And then, of course, I had to completely throw that away going back to acting because it just took me out of working with Lucy, if I'm thinking of directing and stuff like that. But yeah, that's why I asked if I could work with TJ. It was a great opportunity all around.
Now, Adventures in the Syntrade, of the multi-part collaborations that Rob and I did, that was by far the most difficult one to work out. It was very challenging. Rob had some wonderfully ambitious ideas it was just really hard to get there in the final draft. And as opposed to the debt, I mean, not that writing the debts was easy, it was very difficult also, but I was so into the debts, and the Syntrade was very challenging to find the same access because I think a lot of it was my problem because I was so into the Asian movies, into the Asian mysticism, so bringing Lao Tzu into the debt was really exciting for me. Whereas one of the things that one of the comparative religious studies that Rob wanted to do, because that's one of the themes in Xena. Of course, we did many different religions.
Yes, we did.
Well, the one for this one was shamanism. And I found it difficult to access that. And so it was a really hard one for me, so I suffered too.
Well, I tell you, and after watching the Syntrades or actually seeing the scripts, I was wondering that you probably got to that point through either a lot of drinking or rampant drug use or something like that.
Gabrielle, you're the best thing in my life. I love you, Xena.
I don't know if Xena would have stayed in the land of the dead, trapped I think she would.
Do you?
I think Xena would have stayed in the land of the dead.
Yeah. She couldn't bring Gabrielle back.
Good answer.
Mind you, it was a bit cold there, wasn't it?
Well,
It
they
was on the
couldn't
top of
cross
that
over.
mountain.
Yeah.
Top. So it was a little cold.
It was in the snow.
Maybe she would have just left. Come back without
To
you.
Egypt.
No, I think Xena would stay if she couldn't bring her back.
One of the things that I think is really fun about the Syntrate episodes is that they jump back and forth all over the map, but I think it's still very clear where you are, and it's a very, very complex story that we tell, and I think it actually worked really well for such a complicated. It's probably the most complicated.
I've had
story.
people tell me, and I'm always surprised that that's one of their favorite ones. You know, like what was that began? Which season did that begin? The fifth, the fourth season. Yeah, no, I certainly. I heard that, and I always said, but what about the deck? Because that's my favorite.
That's mine too.
Yeah,
The deaths
yeah.
are my favorite.
Xena.
I worked hard studying to be the head of a spider. I did. Arachnophobia, no, not anymore. No, I don't know. I don't remember. I remember working in front of a blue screen, and then TJ said I was going to be the head of a spider, but I had no idea really what that was going to look like.
That was one of the all-time worst effects. We've been sitting here prior to this thinking about what were the absolute worst episodes and worst things, but that was one of the all-time worst effects.
There you go.
There's a really interesting sequence which is a power play between Ulti and Cyan, where they kind of have a psychic fight where they just use their mental energies. And TJ had a great idea that we used, which was just to start wider and the shots pushing in towards them, but lots of cutting and the shots getting closer and closer and closer until we end up on ECUs like this, and even I think we end up on eyeballs really, and it just draws you in and draws you in and draws you in, and then when it reaches the climax point, you kind of back off again suddenly, and so that was really effective. It was fun to shoot there.
She didn't have the same pull on Xena's heartstrings. There was no guilt. There was nothing to get over in the past. So I can't speak for the audience, but that would certainly make her less. The connection, the emotional connection between them wasn't so strong. The scenes with Hudson were always really interesting to play because those characters had that dynamic. You know, there's a lot of friction, as Renee said the other day, and but I agree that Ulti's powers were so psychologically damaging. She could, you learned a lot every time she put her hands on you, and that would take the episode places that nobody ever thought possible. And I think that was just a great device for, traveling through different dimensions. I think that was a very cool thing to bring to the show. Good idea.
How many times can you have the bad guy? You burned my village and I'm coming to get you. Callisto was the perfect embodiment of the person who was wronged by Xena and coming back to get vengeance, but you can only play that type of a villain once. And she was the perfect embodiment of that.